Hello, my name is Jeremy, and this is the True Crime Chronicles channel. Upon initial observation, Daisy Coleman seemed to embody the quintessential image of grace and potential. Her kind demeanor, sharp intellect, and an array of talents made her a picture of youthful vibrancy. Yet, beneath the surface of her alluring exterior, Daisy harbored a deeply troubled spirit. From a tender age, she faced harrowing experiences that belied her outward appearance. Daisy Coleman entered the world on March 30th, 1997, in the quaint town of Albany, Missouri. Her family consisted of her father, Michael, a practicing physician, and her mother, Melinda, a veterinarian. Daisy was the second of 4 children in the Coleman household, surrounded by 3 younger brothers. The year 2009 marked a pivotal and tragic moment in their lives. Daisy, her father Michael, and one of her brothers were en route to a nearby town for a wrestling tournament when their journey took a fateful turn. Their car struck an unforeseen obstruction, leading to a devastating crash into a ravine. This accident claimed the life of the family's patriarch. In the wake of this tragedy, the Colemans relocated to Maryville, Missouri, a larger city offering new beginnings. Melinda found herself at the helm of the family, grappling with the immense responsibility of single-handedly raising her 3 sons and daughter. This period was rife with challenges, a prelude to further trials that the family would encounter. In the chilly pre-dawn hours of January 8, 2012, Daisy Coleman, a 14-year-old, found herself awakening in the snow-laden yard of her home, the temperature plunging to 0 degrees or lower. Daisy lay there, her hair frozen to the ground, clad only in a t-shirt and athletic pants. The first thought that struck her in that bewildering state was a haunting one. I must be dead. Immobilized, unable to raise her voice or articulate her thoughts, she was engulfed in tears. With immense effort, Daisy managed to drag herself to her house's front door, pounding on it with every ounce of her remaining strength. It was now 5 a.m. By some stroke of fortune, her mother Melinda, deep in slumber in her room, discerned the odd noise. Initially mistaking it for their dogs seeking shelter from the cold, Melinda donned her robe and made her way to the door, intending to let the pets in. The sight that met her upon opening the door was nothing short of a shock. Her daughter Daisy was lying on the threshold. Daisy lay on the frosty steps, her consciousness waning, with the sharp scent of alcohol enveloping her. She was unable to articulate her plight, expressing her distress only through tears. In a panic, her mother Melinda called out for assistance, summoning her sons. They sprang into action, hurrying downstairs to retrieve the hypothermic Daisy from the cold and bringing her into the warmth of their home. The family's fear was palpable. Initially, they tried to warm Daisy with blankets. Upon closer inspection, however, Melinda noticed severe signs of frostbite on her daughter's legs. She quickly filled the bathtub with water, instructing her sons to carry Daisy to the bathroom and then leave her under her care. Daisy was still unresponsive as Melinda started to undress her, revealing extensive bruising and red marks on her legs. It was at this moment that the grim reality dawned upon Melinda. Her beloved Daisy had endured something horrific. She gently placed Daisy in the cool water, applying her veterinary knowledge to administer appropriate first aid for the frostbite, gradually raising the water temperature to warm her daughter's body. Thankfully, her efforts were successful, and Daisy began to regain warmth. But her speech remained confused and disjointed. Alarmed by her daughter's condition, Melinda dialed 911, prompting the arrival of the police. The officers arrived and examined Daisy. Daisy's mind was still clouded by alcohol, and she was unable to testify about the events of the previous night. So the officers had to listen to the story of Daisy's friend Paige, who was at the Coleman family home that night and slept in the room with Daisy. Here's what the friend said. On Saturday, January 7th, 2012, Daisy invited her best friend Paige to her house for a party. In the evening, the girls watched horror movies and drank hot drinks, which were secretly stolen from the home wine cabinet of the family Coleman. Toward nightfall, Daisy began texting with her older brother's friend, a 17-year-old boy named Matthew Barnett, who was a popular player on the high school soccer team. Matthew, upon learning that Daisy was having a sleepover with her friend, sent the girls a text message that read, "Hey, do you want to have some fun at my place?" Daisy and Paige were excited about the offer and agreed to meet Matthew and his friends without a second thought. Around 1 a.m., already on January 8th, The friends snuck out of Daisy's house through her bedroom window and ran around the corner of the house, where Matthew and 4 of his buddies met them. The guys took the girls to Matthew's house, helped them get into the basement through a window, and asked them to be quiet so as not to wake Barnett's parents, who were sleeping upstairs. Paige revealed that as soon as she and Daisy got into the basement, Matthew immediately started buying Daisy drinks. Her friends sat and watched Daisy, who drank one drink after another almost continuously. At one point, one of the guys, Nicholas, came over to Paige, took the girl by the hand, and led her to the next empty room in the basement. There, the couple had an intimacy initiated by the young man. At this time, Matthew and Daisy secluded themselves in another room, inside of which was a large bed. When the door opened several times, Paige managed to see what was happening in that room with Daisy. The girl was lying on the bed almost unconscious. She couldn't speak or move. Matthew took advantage of her helplessness and made close contact with Daisy. His friend, Jordan Z, filmed everything that was happening on his smartphone camera. At 2 a.m., the boys decided it was time for everyone to head home. They drove Paige and Daisy back to the Coleman residence. Upon arrival, Paige was the first to exit the vehicle. Matthew advised her that Daisy needed to stay outside for a while to sober up in the cold air. The boys assured Paige they would stay with Daisy to ensure her safety on the street, urging Paige to return home and rest. Trusting their words, Paige agreed and left Daisy with them. She entered Daisy's bedroom through the window, quickly fell into bed, and fell asleep almost instantly. In the meantime, the boys assisted Daisy out of the car. They propped her up to keep her from collapsing as she was overwhelmed by nausea. The boys removed her shoes, took her bag and mobile phone, and held her hair back as Daisy vomited. After ensuring she was no longer sick, they gently laid her on the ground near her house. Concerned about being seen and the risks involved, the young men hurriedly departed in their car, leaving Daisy alone in the cold. Daisy remained exposed to the frigid 0-degree temperature for approximately 3 hours. She was without socks or shoes, clad only in a t-shirt and sports pants, her wet hair frozen. Responding to the situation, the police conducted a thorough inspection of the Coleman residence and its surroundings. Inside Daisy's room, they found 5 plastic bottles containing alcohol. Outside, they came across Daisy's bag, mobile phone, shoes, and evidence of vomit nearby. That morning, Daisy was transported to the hospital for a medical evaluation. The doctors noted bruises on her legs and signs of trauma in her genital area. A series of medical tests were conducted, revealing that her blood alcohol level was nearly double the legal limit. After spending several hours in the hospital, Daisy regained consciousness but had no recollection of the previous night's events. She admitted to consuming an excessive amount of alcohol and acknowledged taking it from her mother's cabinet without permission. Daisy also confessed to sneaking out to visit the boys' house, but she could not recall the details of what transpired there. By 11 a.m. on January 8th, just hours after the incident, police officers had located and detained Matthew Barnett, Jordan Z, and Nicholas Gramudis. The young men were charged and brought to the station for questioning. During the interrogation, Matthew Barnett acknowledged having a sexual encounter with Daisy Coleman that night, but he insisted it was consensual. He recounted that Daisy and Paige were already intoxicated when he met them. Initially, Matthew denied providing any alcohol to Daisy, but as he continued his account, inconsistencies emerged in his testimony. Ultimately, he conceded that he did offer Daisy several shots of alcohol, suggesting it was to melt her cold heart. Matthew explained that he had used a condom during the encounter and disposed of it by throwing it out of the car window while they were driving Daisy back to her house. Jordan Z initially refused to testify, but later admitted that he used his friend Nicholas's smartphone to make a video of Matthew kissing Daisy. The video lasted about 10 seconds. Jordan managed to show the clip to his friends before freaking out and deleting the video. Nicholas, who induced Daisy's friend Paige into intimacy, was the only one who immediately fully pleaded guilty. The guy was sent to a juvenile detention center. Matthew's friend, who drove the group to Daisy's house, recounted that during the ride, Daisy was continuously crying, and Matthew was worried that her brother Charlie would be furious if he found out about everything. Additionally, it emerged that Matthew had visited the Coleman family a few days before the incident, where he had dined with them in a friendly atmosphere. By 1 p.m. on January 8th, a search was conducted in the basement of Matthew Barnett's house. The police seized bed linen, several empty bottles, men's underwear, and plastic cups as part of their investigation. In the course of further interrogations, the deputy sheriff appeared to develop a sense of empathy towards Matthew's account of the events. At one point, the officer even remarked, "It's not uncommon for girls to engage in various actions to seek attention, and this might just be one of those instances." He commended Matthew for his supposed thoughtfulness in driving the girl home. However, the officer seemed to overlook the critical detail that Matthew had abandoned her outside, alone in the cold. Days later, Daisy Coleman made a full recovery, no longer facing any immediate health threats. However, she was still unable to recall any additional details about the traumatic night. By March 2012, 2 months after the incident, the charges against Matthew Barnett and Jordan Z were completely dropped. The district attorney concluded that the interaction between the young individuals was consensual. The video Jordan had filmed and subsequently deleted, which allegedly showed Matthew kissing Daisy, was never recovered, despite claims from several of Jordan's classmates that they had seen it. An examination of the mobile phones belonging to Matthew and Daisy revealed sporadic communication, about once a month. In these exchanges, Daisy suggested a willingness to engage in sexual activity with Matthew in return for alcohol. There were also text messages preceding January 8th, where both Daisy and Matthew exchanged mutually explicit content of a sexual nature. After Matthew's release, it came to light that he was the grandson of Rex Barnett, a prominent politician and former member of the state legislative assembly, known for his involvement in the Committee on Criminal Law and Public Safety. Rex Barnett had established connections with many prosecutors and police officers across Missouri. Consequently, Matthew and Jordan were allowed to resume their normal lives. Meanwhile, Daisy Coleman hoped that the controversy surrounding her nightmarish ordeal would eventually subside. She resumed her studies, but instead of empathy and support from her peers, she encountered hostility and ridicule. The majority sided with Matthew, branding Daisy as deceitful and promiscuous. This sudden ostracization led Daisy to become reclusive, preferring the solitude of her home over social interactions. The girl, who once actively participated in community activities, sports, and dancing, became a shadow of her former self, even leaving the school's cheerleading squad. Simultaneously, her mother Melinda faced a barrage of anonymous threats at both home and her workplace. The situation escalated to the point where Melinda was compelled to resign from the veterinary clinic, where she had been employed for many years. Confronted with this unrelenting hostility, the Coleman family made the difficult decision to relocate in the spring of 2013. Tragically, their vacant house in Maryville, which was listed for sale, mysteriously burned down. The cause of the fire remained undetermined by the police, fueling speculations that it was an act of retaliation, possibly linked to Matthew Barnett's father. Under peculiar circumstances, sometime later, the house of Daisy's friend Paige also succumbed to a fire. By then, Daisy and Paige had ceased communication, and Paige, too, found herself ostracized at school, plagued by persistent nightmares. Eventually, Daisy's ordeal gained national media attention, resonating with others across the country who had endured similar experiences. This newfound support enabled Daisy to reopen the case against Matthew Barnett, her primary antagonist. At the subsequent trial, Matthew was only found guilty of leaving Daisy exposed to the freezing temperatures. He received a sentence of 2 years probation and was ordered to pay $1,800 in restitution to the Coleman family. No further charges were pursued against the other individuals involved in the incident. Daisy Coleman continued to face life's challenges, receiving both support and threats from anonymous online sources. She grappled with the harsh reality of the unfair treatment and criticism directed at her. In 2016, when Daisy was 19 and attending college, a Netflix documentary titled Audrey and Daisy was released. This film delved into the issues of violence, bullying, and cyberbullying, along with their devastating consequences. Daisy featured prominently in the documentary, courageously sharing her personal experiences. The film also highlighted the story of another young woman, Audrey Pott from California, whose tale ended in even greater tragedy. In a tragic parallel to Daisy Coleman's experience in 2012, Audrey Pott faced a similar ordeal, but with an even more heartrending outcome. Photos of Audrey circulated rapidly online, reaching not only her friends but also her adversaries. In her final social media post, Audrey expressed her profound despair. "My life is destroyed, the whole school knows. I can never get rid of this reputation. Everyone knows how bad I am. I want it all to end." Just 9 days after this post, Audrey, overwhelmed by the relentless humiliation and unable to cope with the magnitude of her suffering, tragically took her own life. 6 months following Audrey's tragic passing, her parents successfully initiated legal proceedings. The responsible individuals, 3 boys, received sentences of 30 to 45 days for their involvement in the incident. Subsequently, their families compensated Audrey's parents with approximately $1 million for emotional damages. Shifting focus back to Daisy Coleman, in 2018, she chose to embark on a fresh start by relocating to Colorado. There, she found employment at a tattoo parlor and was engaged in a new film project, which chronicled her journey towards healing. Tragically, in June 2018, Daisy faced another heart-rending ordeal when her mother, Melinda, and brother Tristan were involved in a car accident en route to visit Daisy from their hometown. Tragically, her 19-year-old brother Tristan lost his life in the accident, the details of which remain shrouded in mystery. Following the devastating loss of her brother, Daisy Coleman turned to social media to share her inner turmoil. In a heartfelt post, she admitted that with each passing day, it became increasingly challenging to contain her inner demons, fabricate a smile, and maintain the facade that all was well. In the wake of her brother's death, Daisy became a co-founder of a non-profit organization dedicated to aiding victims of violence. She continued to openly discuss her own traumatic experiences while offering support to others facing similar adversities. Daisy often used her posts to express the difficulty she faced managing her emotional distress, grappling with panic attacks, and being haunted by relentless, nightmarish recollections. In the summer of 2020, 23-year-old Daisy Coleman began telling friends that she was being followed by an unknown man sending her threats. She reported this to the police, saying the individual had been stalking her since December 2019 and pleading for help, but her pleas were ignored. On Tuesday, August 4, 2020, Daisy wrote on Twitter about her fear of leaving her house, unable to walk her dog or go to work due to her terror. She wrote that she had stopped eating and sleeping. Hours later, Daisy posted on Facebook that an unknown man had approached her house and knocked on the door. Frightened, she suspected he might have stolen her keys and could break into her house. Daisy also wrote that this man had stolen her photos and created a profile on a website, offering intimacy for money under her identity. After reading her daughter's social media posts, Daisy's mother, Melinda, called the Colorado police for a welfare check. At 4 p.m., officers arrived at her house, and she let them in. They stayed for about an hour, talking to her about the stalking. The officers noticed nothing unusual in Daisy's behavior, but shortly after they left, Daisy video called her boyfriend, took out a gun, pointed it at herself, and pulled the trigger. The boyfriend initially didn't understand what happened as the call dropped. Daisy stopped responding to calls, and the boyfriend called 911. When police returned to Daisy Coleman's house at 8 p.m., they found her dead. Daisy's mother, Melinda, announced her daughter's death by publishing a post on social media. She wrote, "She was my best friend and a wonderful daughter. How I wish I could have taken her pain onto myself. She never recovered from what those young boys did to her back in school, and it's just not fair. My daughter is gone from us." The mother confessed that she had fought for Daisy and her mental health for many years. She believed that she had done everything possible for her beloved daughter. The mother admitted that her daughter had indeed been pursued by a stalker in recent months. Also, Daisy had recently found out that she would never be able to have children. After Daisy's death, the tattoo parlor where she worked was robbed. The thief stole an album with Daisy's exclusive drawings and her tattoo machine. 4 months later, in December 2020, 58-year-old Melinda Coleman wrote another touching post on social media, dedicated to her beloved daughter. Afterwards, the woman took a gun and did the same thing as her daughter Daisy had done. In the Coleman family, only 2 sons remained, the older Charlie and the younger Logan. Daisy's charitable organization organized a fundraising effort to support the boys. It is known that the life and career of Matthew Barnett are going well and successfully. After the deaths of Daisy and her mother, Melinda, the man expressed his condolences for what happened to the Coleman family. If you found this story interesting, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to share your opinion in the comments. This was Jeremy. See you in the next video.
We are learning a lot more tonight about a murder in Riverview involving a cosplay model and her live-in boyfriend.
Turner called 911 to say she'd found her boyfriend on the back porch unresponsive and cold to the touch.
I loved him and I didn't want to do that to him.
October 17th, 2019 started the same as most days did for Melissa Turner and Matthew Trussler. Melissa began her work as a cosplay model around 4 a.m. Later in the morning, the couple ran some errands together and returned to their home in Riverview, Florida, to have a quiet evening to themselves. However, there was nothing ordinary about the following morning, as Melissa awoke to find Michael's dead body outside. After Melissa called 911, the police arrived at the scene to investigate, and Melissa agreed to answer questions back at the station. She denies having any knowledge of what happened to Matthew, but as the hour-and-a-half-long interview proceeded, some inconsistencies arose. Melissa initially appears distraught, crying throughout much of the beginning of the questioning. Her crying, while initially convincing, cannot hide the evidence that eventually begins to pile up against her. Numerous people familiar with Melissa and this case called her an actress, and the prosecutor called Melissa's behavior exceptional acting.
He's just grabbing a couple things, so it'll just be a minute, right? You need any water or anything?
Please.
You want a cup of water? Okay, I'll go grab that. Is that something he was grabbing you already, do you know?
It's a lot less glamorous than they make it on TV, right?
It's not too cold for you.
I think I'd still have tremors right now, even if it were 100 degrees in here. You Fitbits are lying motherfuckers. Do you have one?
I'm sorry?
The Fitbit smartwatch.
No, I don't.
There's some cold water for you.
Thank you.
I tried to find some nice soft tissues.
It's okay.
That's what I was able to get, okay?
I'm not too concerned with you.
I just, you look very upset.
I
So
look like a mess. I saw myself. Got it, blood all over my face.
I'm sure you've had better days. But given the circumstances, I understand, okay? So now we're here at the CID office. I just want to go over a couple things with you real quick, okay? Just so you know, our rooms are audio and video recorded, all right? There's a camera right there,
I've already seen it.
okay?
And the
And we
recorder over there.
have digital recorders, so just in case that fails, this thing picks up what we say, okay? And it's to protect you and to protect us, so we can never say that you said something that you didn't, and you can't say something that we said that we didn't. You know what I mean?
Understood.
Like I told you back at the scene where I met you at. Is that correct?
Yes.
And today's date, just for the record, is Friday, October 18, 2019. It's 10:51 hours. Met you over there. And Miss Turner, we're gonna go at your pace, okay?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Listen, you
The
don't.
date killed me because a month and a half ago, we went to Cade's and we picked out a living room set, but it was on back order. It was supposed to be here this week, but it was delayed.
Okay. It's not.
And it's gonna show up, and I'm gonna have this fucking couch. We picked it so it would be half my chair. It was a love seat with a console in the middle. It was supposed to be me. And it's gonna show up, and what the fuck do I do with it now?
I don't know.
It never even got to sit there with me.
so sorry. Look, I know this is difficult for you, okay? So we're gonna go, we're gonna take our time.
Okay.
You know, obviously, you're very upset, and I can understand why, okay? Let me just go over a couple more things with you real quick. I had asked you if you were willing to come back here and talk to us back at the house, is that correct?
Yes.
And the deputies transported you?
Yes.
Did anybody put any handcuffs or anything on you?
No.
All right. Just so you know, that door right there is unlocked, okay? If you walk out the door at any time during the interview, if you want to, you go to the left and you're in the parking lot. All right? You know that you're not under arrest and you don't have to talk to us, right? I told you that back at the scene. The reason I'm telling you this is because I'm not here to try to trick you. There's no tricks here, all right? I'm just trying to figure out what happened. Okay? Let me go over a couple basic things like your name, and where you live, and your date of birth, and stuff like that, so we can get it on the record.
Stand by, please.
Yes.
Like I said, I'm Detective Tabor. This is Detective Latu. And I was provided your name, Melissa Turner. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you spell it for me?
Melissa Turner.
All right, Miss Turner, do you got a middle name?
Rose.
Rose, like the flower?
Rose.
Okay. When's your birthday?
November 25th, 1992.
Now, was other than me asking you what your name was at the scene and you know who you lived there with, did I ask you any other questions about what happened?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, I didn't, other than what your name was. No, I know. I just want to make sure that we cover that. That I didn't ask you anything or anything like that at the scene there. Did the deputies ask you anything in the car pertaining to this investigation?
No, because I told them to talk bullshit to me. Tell me shit. Tell me about things that don't matter.
Kind of keep your mind off of what's going on?
Absolutely.
Okay. And where can you raise your right hand for me? You swear everything you're gonna tell me today is gonna be the truth?
I swear.
Okay, you can put your hand down.
Do you want to keep wearing those gloves, or do you want to take them off? Because it's my understanding a deputy had you sign something, or you were handling a pen, so he had you put those on because
I
of the
was
amount of
getting
blood.
things bloody because I was covered in his blood.
Okay.
Would you like to take them off? You're more than welcome to take them off.
It's completely up to you. I just didn't know. I mean, we don't.
It's uncomfortable. Your hands will start your hands start getting sweaty and that, and get all the yucky.
I'll leave them on for now.
Okay. Very
I
nice.
don't know if I can handle just taking them off and seeing that the blood on my hands right now.
You swear that everything you're gonna tell me is gonna be the truth today? Okay. You can read and write the English language?
Yes.
Do you know where you're at right now?
Yes.
Do you know what's going on?
Yes.
Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol?
The detective asked Melissa if she is under the influence of any drugs or alcohol, then states he smelled alcohol on her breath when they spoke at the scene. She admits to drinking vodka with Matthew the night before, but getting tired around 10:30 and going to sleep. According to Melissa, Matthew had a high tolerance for alcohol. She claims she told Matthew earlier that night they should take a break from drinking and that she didn't get very drunk that night. She said that Matthew had a drinking problem and that he acknowledged his problem with alcohol.
All right. In fairness, when I was talking to you earlier back at the house over there, I smelled a little bit of alcohol on your breath.
We were drinking last night.
No, that's fine, and there's nothing wrong with drinking. I just want to make sure that I cover that so I know what your state is when I'm asking you questions.
Yeah,
That's
no,
all.
we were drinking last night.
Okay.
But obviously not since I woke up.
When's the last time you had a drink?
Probably 10-ish last night, 10:30 maybe.
I'm not trying to pick on you, and I don't want you to get upset with me. I'm just trying to cover it. In fairness to you, I could smell it, so I don't want to. Listen, the only thing I have in this world is my word. I don't want to play any tricks or anything. I could smell it, so I wanted to ask you about it. Is that fair?
That's fine, because I mean, I get up early all the time for 4:30 in the morning. So by 10 o'clock at night, I'm normally spent, and that told whoever I was talking to there that I remember just being tired. Yeah, we were drinking, but I just remember being tired and curling up in the chair.
Who do you live there with? What's his name? Can you spell the last name? And you two live there together? Does anyone...
We bought the house together. It's only us.
When did you all buy the house?
January.
Of this year? How long have you been
2.5 years. We're engaged.
You said you had some animals there at the house?
4 cats, a dog, and a snake.
Wow. So you like animals?
We do like animals. I was telling the deputies, he was like an animal whisperer.
Yeah, I know. I know when we were leaving there, you wanted to make sure they were safe and okay.
The cat that went over to the neighbors, Blue, the gray one, adopted us. She jumped into the truck with him one night when he was coming home from a friend's house and just slept in his lap. He loved animals.
When's the last time you said you went to bed? What time did you? Let me start there. What time did you go to bed last night?
I mean, like I said, we were having some drinks. But I remember getting really tired around 10, and I just wanted to go to bed. And 10:30ish was when I remember. 10:30, 11 maybe is when I remember going to curl up on the chair, because I slept on that big chair that's in my little office area downstairs.
Okay.
What were you guys drinking?
Vodka.
Just vodka? Anything else?
I mean, vodka and Coke and water. Just.
Were you having drinks or were you guys taking shots?
We were taking shots.
Would you say? Now I don't know what your alcohol tolerance is. What would you say you were intoxicated?
When
you went to sleep?
Well, I was taking. He can drink like he could. I mean, he was always he could drink you under the table.
Does he have
He had a
drink?
high metabolism, and he was just always running through booze. I remember I made a specific point of it even earlier in the night to tell him, I want to stop, let's take a break, and for an hour and a half at least earlier in the night I didn't drink a single thing. I just had water, and we ate and everything. We had we ate dinner, and that was it. And I mean, I got drunk, yeah, but not obliterated, like I would say I was beyond being just buzzed, because we did get drunk, but that's what we did. We were there at the house ourselves. That's what we would do on a night when we didn't have to get up and do anything the next morning. We had drinks. He always liked drinking. He was a drinker.
Did he have would you say he had a drinking problem or no?
He had a drinking problem.
Okay.
I can't bullshit you. I mean, his mom will tell you the same thing. He did. He would admit it himself.
What about you?
Me? No.
Melissa denies that Matthew used any drugs because he knew she strongly disapproved. However, she admitted to the detectives that he did use heroin, cocaine, and marijuana before they met. These statements, in combination with her previous statements about Matthew's drinking problem, could be her attempt to make detectives question Matthew's mental state and judgment leading up to his death. This video shows a desperate escape attempt by a criminal who had successfully concealed a weapon, which he then turns on police while still under arrest. You can watch it right now, plus many more Patreon exclusive videos for as little as $2 a month at patreon.com/strangerstoriesplus.
Besides the alcohol last night, were there any drugs?
No.
We're not the drug police, so
No.
I'm just asking.
No, he would never touch any of that
What-
because that was a deal breaker for me, and he knew that. He knew if he touched anything like that again, that he would lose me.
Okay.
That was my number one deal breaker with him.
And I'm assuming.
So you're not the drug police. He was not shy about it in his past when he was younger. He was into hard drugs.
Okay.
But it's been years since then because he knew that was my number one deal breaker. He touched it again, we were done. I didn't give a shit. That was it.
What kind of drugs was he into previously?
Heroin mostly. I didn't know him at the time that he was on drugs. This is him telling me about his past. He smoked weed all the time. He was into heroin, coke, every now and then maybe. I don't know anything else, really.
Okay.
But it had been a solid 3 years since he had touched any of it.
You said that you all bought the house back in January. Did you move in then?
Yes.
Okay. Where did you meet him at?
Tinder.
Tinder? That's a dating app, right?
Yeah,
Then that was 2.5 years ago.
it was. April 26th was our first time meeting in person.
When did you all actually start living together?
Around the time that Irma hit.
Irma hit? So that was last year, right? In October?
It was
17.
17.
So 2017.
Because he was living in this little, looked like it might fall over if you blew on it too hard kind of house with his brother. So whenever Irma hit, he moved all of his stuff to where I was living because it was a big brick townhouse. Thought it'd be a little bit safer there,
Mm-hmm.
which it was. And when, I mean, he moved it there for the hurricane, but we just stayed living together since.
You had mentioned you all were drinking because you drank on the nights that when you didn't have to get up the next morning to do
Yeah,
anything. Do either of you work?
I do, yeah, and he helped me with work. He was working with, just recently working with, yeah.
Okay.
The solar panels that are on my house is how he got the job because the people who came to sell us that were like, wow, you know a lot about this.
That's a deal there.
Maybe you should work for us. And they pretty much hired him.
Wow.
What about you?
I'm a CAM model.
Okay.
So I work from home. There's a room upstairs that has all my work stuff in it, and it's my work room, and that's it.
Okay. Let me can you take us back to yesterday, from the time you guys woke up and to kind of how we got here today?
Yeah, as much as I can.
The best that you can. That's all we're asking for.
I woke up at 4 yesterday. Normal. Got up. I put on
Morning
my
or PM?
morning.
So
I'm a morning person.
do you work like during the night?
I
Or
work early mornings.
okay. So you got up around 4 p.m.
I got up at 4 a.m.
4 a.m.
yesterday. I got up at 4 a.m. Got up, got ready, my makeup and everything. Got on cam, did my work, logged off around 9:30 in the morning. And then I went and I put on my workout clothes. And he was awake. He put on his too because we had just gone and gotten new shoes together, new Nikes, so we could work out together and everything. So we got dressed and we took the dog on a walk. So it was a 30-minute walk around the neighborhood.
What time do you think you walked the dog yesterday?
Around 10. Around 10 to 30 in the morning.
What'd y'all do next?
When we got back to the house, I went out to the garage to work out more, and he stayed in the house. He was cleaning up the kitchen, put the dishes in the dishwasher, that sort of thing. I went and I took a shower whenever I got back in, and we got ready. We put on our shoes again. We went to Home Depot.
What time did you go to Home Depot?
It was around 12:30.
In the afternoon?
Yes.
I know they're not open at midnight, but I just want to be.
It was around then, yeah. After my shower and everything. And then
What'd y'all go to Home Depot for? I saw like the wooden stuff in the garage because the garage door was open, so I was just curious.
Well, the big pumpkin man in the yard.
Oh, yes.
And the spikes that came with him were only these little 4-inch things. And with the rain that we'd been having, the ground was so soft, he fell right over. So we got 18-inch garden spikes and just put them in the ground.
Which Home Depot did y'all go to?
The one, I don't know if it's Riverview branded, the one that's 10 minutes north of the house, off of 301. Right there by the Wawa.
Okay, I know which one you're talking about. All right, what do you guys do once you get back to, or did you go anywhere after Home Depot?
We went to Publix because we didn't really have anything for lunch in the house, and he wanted to cook us lunch.
What did he make?
Filet. He got a big filet, cut it in half for the two of us, and cooked it up perfect.
For who did he cook it up for?
Me and him.
Oh.
His was medium rare and mine was blue, because that's how I liked my steak. He cooked it up perfect for us. We had that, some bread, a little bit of cheese.
What time was lunch?
It was a late lunch for us. It was around 2 o'clock. Then we sat down to eat.
Okay. Were you all, were there any drinks at lunch?
A glass of wine. The bottle is still sitting in the kitchen. We only had a glass each.
What kind of wine was it?
It was a red, I'm not sure exactly. We got a Belgo at Publix.
Okay, what happened next?
We had just had our windows replaced in the house the last several weeks. So one of the guys from the company came by to put on the last bit of the like covers, the sliders or whatever, that you had to wait until after the inspection was done. At 3 o'clock he came by to do that. He was right on time, which I was surprised because no one else in that, the workers, everything, they were always, when they were doing the windows, were so off with their time. They would say tomorrow and it would be next week kind of thing.
Yeah, when you're using subcontractors like that, it's sometimes it happens.
So they had to wait to put the screens on, you said?
It was like for the sliding glass doors, the covers to hide all the screws and stuff.
Oh, so just like touch up, finish up work, gotcha.
Just things that the inspector needed to see was there and right, and he just came to put the covers on that stuff.
Gotcha.
Do you know who their company was that came out there to do the
Reese's
windows?
Windows.
Reese's?
Yeah, REECE. Windows.
How long did that take them yesterday to do that?
20 minutes, maybe. He wasn't there long.
That's pretty efficient. Or you just don't have that
All
many
he had to
windows?
do was the sliding glass door.
Ah, okay.
So,
Okay. All right. Once window man leaves, what happens next?
I had to do some work on the computer, answer some emails and stuff like that. So I did that until probably 5:30ish. He was just watching TV while I was doing that.
Do you have a computer up in your workroom?
I do, and I also have one in the office downstairs.
Okay. Are they laptops or
No.
desktops? Okay. What time were you done checking your emails and stuff?
It was probably 5:30ish.
Okay.
From there, I remember vacuuming, cleaning. We have a husky, and vacuuming is part of our daily routine.
Lots of shitting.
I remember vacuuming, and we were trying to figure out something to do for the night if we wanted to go anywhere or anything, but we played some card games for a bit.
Do you remember what time you started playing card games?
She recounts her day in great detail, including the time she and Matthew spent together running errands and playing card games. Trauma can manifest in many ways and show different symptoms for different people. While some trauma survivors and witnesses experience memory disruption or distortion, others are able to remember events in elaborate detail. It's possible that the detectives assumed Melissa's precise recall of specifics was related to the trauma of finding Matthew's body. However, they will eventually learn this was not the case.
It was around 6:15. Because the animals, the cats and the dog, always get fed at 7 at night, so they started circling us, so we were playing.
They're like clockwork, huh?
Always. They started to circle us around, getting closer to 6:37, so we got up and fed them. And then,
You remember what kind of games you all were playing?
rummy, blackjack, kind of, just anything.
The reason I'm asking is that, there's card games and there's drinking games. I don't know if you all were playing drinking games or if you were just playing rummy or solid.
We were playing, we played, like, when it got to, you lost this much, yeah, you take a shot, but after 3 shots, we said, okay, that's enough. Let's take a break, have some water for a minute. We stopped. Mm-hmm. We did.
She eventually admits that the card games they played were drinking games, and that the two of them had about 3 shots each before eating dinner later that evening. Melissa continues to be reluctant to admit the extent of her drinking that night, likely for the fear that this will cast doubt on her version of events.
What time did you guys stop?
It was around the time that we had to feed the animals, probably around 7.
Okay.
That's kind of what I was going to ask. When do you think you started drinking? Was it when you started playing the card games? Was it before
It was
that?
a little bit after that, yeah.
So right after you started drinking?
He had been having beers throughout the day, but that's his thing. He drinks like a fish in fucking water.
So while you're answering emails and he's watching TV, he's maybe having a few beers?
Maybe a beer or two. Actually, I don't think he was having beers at that time because he was low on beer, so he wasn't really.
What's his choice of beer?
That depends on if he's just drinking beer to drink beer or if he's drinking beer to enjoy it.
Alright, so
He
beer to
likes
drink beer.
Beer to drink beer, Corona, Bud Light, Lime, recently, Bud Light Lime are normally his picks. Beer, if he's trying to enjoy it, he likes IPAs, he hates lagers. IPAs. Lagunitas.
He doesn't like lagers, he likes IPAs?
Yes, he likes Lagunitas, Sweetwater.
Those are ones he enjoys.
Sierra
drinking.
Nevada.
Because those are a little bit heavier on the alcohol content, so they're.
But he only drinks those when he's wanting to just sit down and enjoy a beer. He wasn't drinking that last night. He was just having Coronas. The box, I believe, is still in the refrigerator in the garage.
You said that's the beer he drinks when he just wants to just drink.
Just have a beer, not trying to sit down and like really enjoy it. Just just have a beer, kind of thing.
Okay.
We'll just have a Corona or a Bud Light, kind of thing.
So you all feed the cats around 7?
Yeah, the cats.
How long does that normally take you? With 4 cats, a dog, and a snake?
4 cats, a dog. I mean, the snake doesn't eat every day.
Yeah.
But it takes from the start of it till they're all done probably 20 minutes.
Okay.
And we have to watch them because the dog will try and eat their food. And she did try and eat it last night, and we had to make sure she tried to eat their food.
Dogs
And we
are-
had to make sure she went outside to use the bathroom so the cats could finish. And
Once the feeding process was done, what do y'all do next?
just not really talked about stuff. We talked to there's one of the papers probably still on the kitchen counter that has like a rough drawing that he did of like the outline of like here's our house, here's our sidewalk, because he knew that Halloween. I love Halloween. It's such a big thing for me. And he wanted our house we needed more lights outside. He wanted to be more illuminated, not just have this big pumpkin man thing standing out there. He wanted more lights and things to illuminate the other decorations that we had out there. So he drew a whole little diagram we were talking about the lights and everything we were gonna go get. We said maybe not this year, it won't be the best, but we'll go get everything on clearance right after Halloween.
Yeah, that's usually when you get the best deals.
That's what I always do.
Whatever's left over, you know, because they're trying to clear the shelves for inventory.
Yeah.
So when you guys are, where are you all talking? You said at the table. Is that in the kitchen or?
In the island in the kitchen. That's, I mean, we like to stand and walk around a lot. I mean, whenever we're just talking, it helps us, you know, think and everything. We were just talking, walking around the island, you know.
The detective brings up the question of drinking again. It is common for investigators to focus on this topic in order to determine how intoxicated witnesses and other parties were around the time of the crime. At this point, Melissa is only a witness, not a suspect. But her recollection of events and the accuracy of her reports of that night could greatly be impacted if she drank a significant amount.
Did you guys start drinking back at that time again, or when did you guys start picking up the?
We started drinking at around 7:30, 7:45-ish. I mean, no, it was 8 actually, because we sent Alexa a reminder for me to put the food in the oven. And that took it took 30, 45 minutes for it to heat up. We had it was a taco fiesta mixing that he had cooked previously, and we had a lot of it left over, so we put it in a bowl and put it in the freezer to keep it for later. And we took that out earlier the day and thawed it, and we're heating that up and having that for dinner.
And that was around 8 o'clock, you said, when you put it in?
When I put it in, yeah. And we had a shot or two, but we kept drinking. We were drinking water and talking, and the food was done, and we each had plenty of food. Like, we were actually proud of ourselves, because sometimes we just like end up just going to bed and not eating dinner because, you know, sometimes when you drink, you just, food. You know, like
your stomach fills up and kind of swells up. And
yeah, you just don't want to eat. Like, you know, you should, but sometimes you don't. And that was it. But last night we didn't. We actually we stopped drinking purposefully. Stopped drinking and made ourselves just drink water. Mm-hmm. And then we had dinner. A good filling dinner. Like, you had tortillas. There was ground beef. You know, all the taco-y stuff and stuff. And a really big filling dinner. And we felt good after that. Like, we felt fine.
You said it took about how long to cook? Like 30, 45 minutes?
30, 45 minutes, yeah. It was still really cold, I guess, because it was maybe a little bit still frozen from the freezer.
Okay. And it was just the two of you there? And did anybody else come over?
No.
When's the last time anybody else had ever come over to the house? Like a visitor?
Like a friend or something? Mm-hmm. It's been a while. Honestly, we keep to ourselves a lot. No, he had in September.
That's the last time anybody came to the house?
Yeah.
The screen guy wasn't there, right?
No.
He left.
He left after he did his job.
Okay.
So, I mean, besides the screen guys, I mean, we didn't have anyone actually over at the house.
So last night when you guys were eating dinner, it was just the two of you alone?
Yeah.
Having some drinks and eating some Mexican food?
Yeah.
Who doesn't love Mexican food? I love it. All right, so after dinner, what happens? What do you guys do next? We're at about 9:45 now, I'd say.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Inconsistencies with Melissa's story begin to creep out. Despite having told the detectives earlier in the interview that all they drank the night before was vodka, Melissa now says that around 9:45 p.m. she had a hard seltzer, and Matthew was drinking beer.
I was the Truly, the hard seltzers that have
hard seltzers.
The hard seltzers that maybe, you know, about the same as much as beer. I was having one of those. He was having a beer, Corona.
Did you drink a White Claw?
No.
You know what that is?
I know what they are, yeah.
That's like the new fad.
I know. They're too sweet for me.
You're not into that? Okay.
They're too sweet for me.
Okay.
I like the Trulies. There's less sweetness and there's less sugar and stuff.
So you're drinking hard seltzer and he's drinking.
I was drinking that, so I mean, I was having that. He was having a beer. I was basically having the girly version of a beer,
Okay.
essentially. And we were doing that. We were just talking about things. We were talking about we pulled up the credit card, the Capital One, because we share a card.
I'm sorry.
We share a card. The Capital One card. We share a card. We were bringing it up and looking at it because of the charges and everything on it, and because it's a cashback card. And our goal was always, whenever the cashback got to 1,000, we were going to take ourselves on a vacation. And we had just hit around 600.
And that's a card you guys share?
Yes, it was his card, and he got me added onto it. And we were talking last night about putting him onto my bank accounts and everything so he could help manage the money more and stuff. And it just both of us just keep a look over it. And we were talking about that. We talked about the Halloween decorations a bit more. We talked about vacations and what we wanted to do, and kind of just trying to sort our lives out, kind of thing. Like make sure we had a clear path with what we wanted to do with our lives.
Are you all on the same page when it comes to all that? I'm sorry, you said absolutely.
We wanted.
So there wasn't any disagreements or any fighting, anything like that?
We didn't want kids. We had our animals. If anything, we wanted more of them. We wanted to travel the world. We wanted to just live life with each other.
What was his mood last night when you guys were talking about this? Is he just kind of talking about it and brushing it off? Was he excited about it? Was he stressed about anything?
The only thing that stressed him out was that he felt he wasn't doing his part to help with the house and money, because I did make the majority of the money, especially with him being out of a job. But I reassured him, as I had plenty of times, that him not just because he wasn't actually working and getting a paycheck didn't mean anything, because he was at the house taking care of the animals, cooking, cleaning, helping me, helped us, helped me have more time to make money.
So in your opinion, he's holding up his end of the deal just
Absolutely.
by doing the housework and everything like that?
Absolutely. And he was, and not even just doing the housework, he was fixing things around the house. We had a leak in our AC drain pipe, and there was a hole in the ceiling, and we were talking about fixing that, and there was a hole where he cut out where our dog started to chew the drywall. He cut it all out, and all he needed to do was put the drywall in and match it up. He was doing things. We just bought the house in January, so there was of course things that we needed to or wanted to change to suit us. And he was working all of those things.
How long did that credit, when you guys were talking about the vacations and all that stuff, how long did that last?
We kind of got lost in it. We were just talking about it, dreaming, having a good time, maybe 30 minutes just on that.
And then once you guys wrapped that up, what happened next? Or what did you all do?
We were talking about vacations and money and stuff at the same time, and I feel like I know what happened next, as I've been having a stomach issue lately where I just start burping a lot and I get the hiccups. And from the hiccups I throw up. I didn't get to the throw up because he helped me calm down and just control my breathing and make the hiccups go away. And that's what happened next. But for me, it's a really exhausting process. You may be hiccuping for 15 minutes. And sometimes it's longer for me. Normally the hiccups can be anywhere from 10 or 15 minutes to it's been an hour of just straight hiccups. And that's annoying as shit and exhausting at the same time. So I'm not sure exactly how long I had the hiccups last night, but I know that started up again. I don't know what it is with me.
What did he do while you had the hiccups?
He was just there with me, telling me to breathe, to calm down.
Was he trying to help you?
Absolutely. Breathe, calm down, hold my breath. He was breathing with me, helping me to steady myself.
And still just the two of you there, right?
Yes.
So that last, you don't know how long that lasts, but then
I'm
what,
not sure exactly, no.
what do you do?
sorry.
What goes on next?
We,
What time do you think you had those hiccups?
10-ish, 10, around 10:15.
Is that? I'm sorry. Say that again.
10:15-ish is when they started.
And you had mentioned earlier in our conversation that you probably had your last drink around 10. So is it fair to say that you had?
Yeah, because I stopped drinking when I got the hiccups because I don't want to have any drink whenever, those hiccups fucking suck. They're exhausting. I hate them.
You said it sometimes leads you to throw up.
Sometimes it does, yeah. It
You
doesn't
don't want
matter.
to be
It's
drinking
not,
and then just throwing it right back up.
and it's not like a drinking thing for me either. They just happen, and I
Right.
start hiccuping, and then that leads to throwing up, and no matter what I'm doing. I had and then, yeah, because I had the hiccups, and whenever he was like, breathe with me doing this, and he knocked over my Truly.
Your what?
My drink, my Truly that I had.
over.
That's what. Yeah.
Where were you at when he was
We
trying
were
to
in
get you?
the kitchen by the island,
Okay.
and he knocked it over and spilled most of it.
How'd that make you feel?
And Karen had 20 more in the fridge outside.
And what
We
is-
got him
what is it called?
BOGO.
A Truly?
Truly, yeah.
That's the hard seltzer, right?
Yes. We got him buy two, get one. So I had plenty of them outside of the garage and the fridge. I didn't care if he spilled it. It didn't matter. I would just go get another. I didn't, but I could if I wanted one. Just go get another one.
Okay. Did your hiccups and stuff subdue? Did they stop or?
They did. He helped me breathe. I had a hiccup that I remember specifically the last one was like a hiccup with throw up. I hiccup threw up, but I made it to the bathroom and in the toilet. It was just a little spit up. Yeah, and then my hiccups stopped after that. And I remember it was getting late. And, cause yeah, it was probably, 10:30-ish, maybe. I don't know, I wasn't keeping, not like I was keeping tabs on the time,
Right.
but 10:30 sounds about right. And I remember getting tired, and I just wanted to go to bed.
Okay. Did you go to bed? Is that what you did next?
I think, well, you get talking when you get drinking and stuff, and he was still having his beers, and I remember he was just still going and talking about stuff, and I was kind of like, yeah, I'm here, but I want to go to bed. Kind of like one of those, like, kind of, like, I'm tired.
I'm married. I'm there with you. Alright?
Like-
I know what you mean.
You and me both.
So when you're tired, you're ready to go to bed.
Yeah.
And the other person wants to keep talking, and sometimes you're listening and you're doing the old head nod, but
Yeah.
then when they say they ask you a question, they trick you. They're like, "Oh, you're not listening to me."
Especially because I would get up so much earlier than him, so like our sleep schedules were off. to
4:30 is
begin with.
early.
And then he didn't wake up until 9 or something,
Right.
that our sleep schedules are always off. And so like I said, 10:30, 11, I'm fucking spent. I'm just like doing that,
What was he talking about? Do you remember?
I can't. No, I can't. It was. I was tired as shit at the point.
If you don't remember, you don't remember. I don't want to.
I think we were just. We were actually. I remember what it was we were talking about because his mom recently has health issues and stuff. His mom's a nurse, and she said that you might have. And we got into talking about that again because we've gone through the symptoms, the list of it and everything, and talked about it. We were just talking about, like, my planner is probably still in the kitchen that has, be an adult, call this person, this health insurance, all this stuff. Because we were going to go get him checked out.
He has.
We're pretty sure. His mother's been a nurse for years and years. She has more fucking master's degrees than I can count. But when we saw her last, she like felt like where his thyroid and like the little gland should be, and it's enlarged and everything. Like she legit thinks he has. And we started talking about that again. Because I mean it's a big issue for him. It's funny because for him it's always he can't eat enough. He's always just running through calories. Like his Fitbit will even like I've taken his pulse and counted the beats per minute. I watched his Fitbit say he just sits there and is at 120, with his heart rate.
How long would you say that conversation last?
She continued to stress that she was exhausted around 10:30 or 11 that night. She could barely keep her eyes open, so she went to sleep in her office. Melissa has no alibi for the night Matthew died. In fact, she was in the home with him when it happened. Instead, she tries to convince investigators that she was too tired to have been involved, or that her exhaustion was so extreme she slept through whatever horrific events transpired that night.
Because this is about...
I don't know. I was like I said, I was just getting tired.
And then did you fall asleep during the conversation, or did you?
I started to get tired. Because he always knows when I start to get tired, I'll just start to like. And when it's that late, sometimes I'll just start to close my eyes. I don't even notice it. If we were sitting down, he wouldn't. When we're on the couch, he always just like tips me over, so I just lie down on the couch.
Where were you guys at when you were having that conversation?
We were in the kitchen.
In the kitchen?
Yeah.
Okay. After that conversation happens, what happens?
After talking in the kitchen, I remember going to lie down on the chair in the office.
Now, what time do you think that was?
11, maybe?
Okay. When you go to sleep, it's still just you and him?
It is.
In the house? Okay. Is he awake when you fall asleep?
Yes, he's always awake when I go to sleep.
Was he in the office with you, or?
I don't believe so. I think he was in the kitchen.
Okay.
When he was talking about, that was the conversation about, what was his mood then? Was he worried about it?
He was never worried about anything.
So he's just generally talking about it because his mom thought that may be what he has, or you guys thought that's what he has?
He didn't like talking about it because his health issues have been going on for a while, but he fit the bill for everything.
But what I'm getting at is while he's having this conversation, is he having it like in a panic, like, oh my gosh, I may have all this stuff, there's all this stuff wrong with me, or he's just telling you about it?
This is a conversation we've had many times. We were just going over it again, like, because we were talking about health insurance and like getting to a doctor, because we believe I'm, because same thing with him, how he fits the bill for that. Same thing with me. The fatigue, the coldness, everything. I can go down the list. I hit a lot of the symptoms, and it makes a lot of sense for my body type and how I eat and work out and stuff. So we were talking about that, the health insurance, and that all together, kind of in the same put.
Gotcha.
Did you, so you fall asleep in the chair in the office. Did you wake up at all during the night? What time did you wake up this morning?
Probably 20 minutes before I called. I don't know what time it was. I don't even know what time it is right now.
It's 11:33 a.m.
Despite her distress early in the interview, she was able to provide detailed answers to the detective's questions and even crack some jokes. However, when asked to give an account of her activities from that morning leading up to finding Matthew's body, her emotions resurface.
I don't know. I normally don't sleep in. But whatever time, I remember waking up And I didn't see him around. I saw the kitchen was. I didn't see him outside at first. I didn't see him there. I went upstairs and I checked the bedroom. I thought he went to bed upstairs. I checked upstairs. And then I came back down again. And I saw Farrah by the sliding glass door. She wanted outside. She wanted to go outside, so I opened the door. I was really. I saw him. He was sitting in the chair, slumped over at the table. He was cold. I pulled him to the ground.
I'm sorry. I know this must be very difficult for you.
It feels like a dream. It feels like a nightmare because when I've had nightmares, this has been it. Losing him.
When you pulled him onto the ground, what did you do? What did you try to do? Or did you do anything?
I grabbed his face. I tried to talk to him. His eyes were open. His pupils weren't doing anything. And that scared the shit out of me. I begged him to come back to me. Because I can't do this myself. I put my fingers. I tried to check for a pulse.
These are the theatrics that numerous people familiar with the case recounted about Melissa. Her tears and grief were believable at this point in the investigation. But that would change as more details and additional evidence were uncovered.
I didn't know what to do. I ran in the house. I grabbed a cloth and put warm water on it and came back and did the same thing. I tried to start CPR. And then I went back in the house and I got my phone. It was on speakerphone with the operator while I was trying to give this.
What kind of phone do you have?
Note, the note, whatever, note 9, the note 10, I don't know.
What color is it?
It's blue and an OtterBox, so it's black with the OtterBox up.
What's the phone number? Do you know the carrier? Obviously, I'm sure you do.
AT&T.
Does it have any passcodes?
It has a thing, the code is 0925.
Okay. You try to give him CPR. And then, so you're on the phone trying to give him CPR. Did anything else happen, or did deputies just show up?
She said that they were almost there, and I went and unlocked the door. And I went back to him, and then he came back.
Do you know where your phone's at right now?
In the kitchen, I believe. I can't tell you exactly. I remember it was in the kitchen.
I noticed that the house is 2 stories.
Yeah.
How many bedrooms are on the bottom?
No bedrooms on the bottom.
Where's the office?
It's if you walk in the front door, it's to the left.
It's to the left. Where's the kitchen?
So the stairs are in the middle, and
Okay.
it's around it. It's a big circle, pretty much. So the office is to the left, but the kitchen's on the other side of the stairs.
So when you walked out of the office, you said you slept in the office last night, right? When you walked out of the office, you had to walk. You said you walked towards the outside. You didn't see him out there, right? And
I
then
didn't.
And then you went upstairs to check,
It's,
but you had to pass the kitchen to go upstairs?
Yeah.
I've never been inside, so that's why I'm kind of asking.
so downstairs, there's the office, so the front door and the office, and then there's the laundry, the bathroom, but then the kitchen and the living room here, and then the stairs are in the middle. And I walked around, but I didn't see him.
You walked around where?
Around the whole bottom stairs.
In the kitchen?
Yeah, I
Living
went
room?
from the office to the laundry, the kitchen, to the living room, and then I didn't see him, so I went upstairs, but I didn't see him in bed.
The detectives exchange glances here, likely because Melissa has just admitted to passing the kitchen when looking for Matthew. The kitchen floor was covered in blood, so it is strange that she wouldn't have noticed that when she was searching the house.
The bed was still made from whenever we made it the previous day, so I was confused. And I went back downstairs, and so the dog wanted to go outside, and so I was going to let her out. And then when I was walking towards the sliding glass doors, is when I saw him at the table.
When you wake up in the office, where would you expect him to be? If he just, as a normal night, you went to bed first, you assume he went to bed somewhere, where would you have expected him to be once you woke up from the office?
Either in bed or on the couch.
Okay, so
Sometimes he would stay downstairs to watch TV more, so he didn't wake me up, and cuddle the dog and the cats and fall asleep there. Or he came to bed with me and watched TV in bed.
so the couch he would have maybe fell asleep on would be downstairs?
Yes.
So is that why you first circled the staircase downstairs and then went upstairs to check the bed?
Yes.
Okay.
I know. I just want to make sure. You said you didn't wake up at all last night? In the middle of the night?
No, but I don't know. Lately I've been really tired. So when I've been going to sleep, I just clunk out. I'm just tired.
How are your sleeping habits? I mean, do you normally sleep through the night, or?
Lately, yeah. When I'm not stressed or anything, yeah, and I've been doing really good lately. This past week, not lying, I'm on my period, so I've been dead ass tired. So when I hit the pillow, I'm out until my alarms go off in the morning.
But other than that, you don't have any issues with sleeping?
Not particularly. I mean, sometimes I wake up in the night to go pee, but that's about it.
Do you take any kind of prescribed medications or anything?
No. Neither does he.
Neither does he?
No.
When you woke up, or did you hear anything?
No.
Last night?
No.
Like in the night?
No.
What do you think happened?
I mean, you understand just from our standpoint, obviously, we weren't there last night. If you could just take your best guess of what you thought could have happened.
I don't know.
Melissa's previous report of wandering the house looking for Matthew is about to change.
I woke up to just see the kitchen a bloody mess.
She now claims that she woke up to see the bloody mess in the kitchen rather than first noticing something was wrong when she saw Matthew outside.
Did anything happen between the two of you in the kitchen to cause that bloody mess?
Not much blood, no.
Did he have any issues with anybody else?
In what way do you mean?
Like, does he owe, I mean, is there anybody out there that wants to hurt him?
Shouldn't be. I mean, maybe my ex, he did try and fucking shoot him before.
When was that?
2017, June, July.
Who's your ex?
Christopher Harrison, Hillsborough County. You guys are the ones that showed up to take him away. He
When's
spent
his
2
birthday?
nights in jail. His birthday is January 11th. The January 28th, I don't remember. 1991.
Does she still live in Hillsborough County?
No, I believe he's living back in Polk County with Mommy.
Okay. When's the last time you talked to him?
The night he got arrested.
Do you know his phone number?
No.
And that was the June or July 2017 when
I
he was
believe it
arrested?
was.
Okay.
I believe it was June, the end of June.
What was he arrested for?
Domestic violence and assault with a deadly weapon, 2 counts for each. He got pissy because I had at the house, but mind you, he had just had a girl upstairs that he was fucking and sent on her way. But he was sick. He had bronchitis. I picked him up from work and brought him to the house. Explained all of this to Chris, saying, he's sick. I'm going to pick up prescriptions now for him. He's sick as a dog. But I had just adopted a new cat too, so we were, that night, happened to be downstairs in the living room, playing with the cat. Normally, whenever I would come over, if Chris was there, we would keep to my room, you know, just to avoid conflict and all that. But we were downstairs, we had a new cat. Why shouldn't have been a problem? Like, he was just fucking a girl upstairs in his room. But he had wanted to fucking show his dick that night, and he came downstairs and started arguing and went upstairs because he put on his clothes, he was just gonna leave, but then Chris started yelling at me and back and forth yelling, and it ended up with me grabbed me and just started kissing me, and Chris had his phone, funny as shit, he was recording all of it the entire time, was just recording us kissing, and then he said something and I turned and looked at him, and then Chris just whipped out a fucking Glock, pointing straight at him, intending to shoot him. And my dumb ass stepped in front of the gun. And then he called the cops on himself. I have the video and everything. There's an intruder in my house. So he got arrested for that because he's just stupid.
Is that the last incident between the two of them?
Yes.
Does Christopher know where you all live?
I hope fucking not.
I mean, have you told him?
No, absolutely not. He tried to message me on, like, social media and stuff, and I told him, basically, go fuck yourself, anytime you try to contact me.
Okay.
So.
And that's the last time you physically have seen Chris is when he got arrested?
Yes. That night.
What about anybody else other than Christopher? Any issues, or has expressed any concern about anybody else wanting to harm him?
Nothing, no, absolutely not wanting to harm him, no.
Have you ever talked about wanting to harm himself?
After providing the detectives with the name of her ex-boyfriend, who had been violent in the past, Melissa now tries to focus the attention on Matthew's history of suicidal ideations. The Hillsborough County prosecutor stated that Melissa insinuated Matthew had killed himself. However, Matthew had been stabbed in the back, which made investigators doubt Melissa's implication of self-harm.
In the past, yes, but I don't believe that.
When's the last?
Fuck him, he always told me he was gonna die young. And I hated him every time he said it.
Who's him? Who are we talking about here?
I'm talking about, he always told me he had a feeling he was gonna die young.
When's the last time he told you that?
It's been a long while, probably a year almost. He wasn't too happy with himself whenever we first started seeing each other, and it took him a while, but he finally started to love life. He said we were planning going to Key West, to Mexico, to Bali. We had trips we were planning.
Did he ever say that
Enrique
he?
sold my finger under this stupid glove. We're engaged. We were gonna get married.
Did he ever say he was going to hurt himself or anything like that?
Not really.
Did he mention anything of that last night?
No.
About wanting to harm himself?
No.
Did he?
Excuse me, one minute.
Did he seem that? Did he seem upset or depressed or anything? I know he was stressed.
No,
out.
but he always did his damnedest to hide it from me whenever he was sad or depressed. So, He did everything he could to hide it from me, even though I could tell. There was always a part of me that could tell when he was upset or sad.
Mm-hmm.
But he did his damnedest to hide it from me as best as he could.
When you woke up this morning, was there anybody else in the house?
No.
Were the windows and doors and everything shut?
Yes.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around everything. What do you think happened?
The detective asks again what Melissa thinks happened, but she continues to claim she has no idea.
I don't know. What injuries did he have? Because I saw the 2 cuts on his arms. I know they were deep, but what? Why?
I don't know. I haven't been in the house, that's why I'm asking you. You were there, obviously. You have his blood all over you.
I don't
You're trying to
understand.
get the CPR and help him, I understand. You said he had 2 deep cuts on his arm?
I think they were on, like, his arm. I mean, at that point, I started to freak out. I don't know. It might have been 1 cut. It might have been more than that. That's all I saw, though. I know there was 1, like, deep cut on his arm. But even I didn't even think that was enough to bleed out from it. But maybe it was. And there was a broken. I don't remember the glass breaking. There was a broken glass in the kitchen that I walked past. And there was a broken beer bottle in the garage, but that's I mean, I can't attribute that to anything because the way we have the garage set up right now, it's kind of hard to open the door to the refrigerator sometimes, and I drop shit all the time, so I can't.
Do you sleepwalk?
No.
Does he sleepwalk?
No.
You pointed to, just a second ago, you pointed to your right arm. Is he right-handed or left-handed?
He's right-handed.
Are you right-handed or left-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Did you see any other injuries anywhere else?
No, I remember.
Besides, did you make any other phone calls? Does he have a phone? What's his phone? I mean, what's his phone number? Did you use your phone?
I don't remember. I grabbed a phone.
What kind of, I'm trying to look, maybe this will help me, I wrote it down, the number that called. So you must have used
That was his.
his phone. What kind of phone does he have?
He's got an Android, LG.
What color is it?
I think it's black. It's in an OtterBox, so.
Do you know what color the OtterBox is?
Black, yeah.
What's the password?
I don't know, I just used my fingerprint to get.
If-
6-3 7-0, I believe, maybe, or 6-0, one of the two, I think. I just use my fingerprint whenever I need his phone, so.
You have your fingerprint set up on his phone?
Yes, we both have our fingerprints set up on each other's phone.
Okay. And what was the number to his phone? I'm sorry.
774. You know, has he got Sprint as well?
He has Sprint, yes. I believe. Or, yeah?
Are you all on the same plan?
No, we're not.
He's on AT&T.
Oh,
I'm
I'm
on
sorry.
AT&T. I think he's on Sprint. No, Verizon. Verizon, I believe. I had bitched at him plenty of times that we needed to just get on the same plan because it would be cheaper.
Oh, well, yeah. Do you have any injuries on your person?
No,
Any scratches or cuts or anything?
not that I noticed. I mean, I was wearing.
You weren't wearing those gloves.
No,
Somebody, the deputy at the scene gave them to you? Here, let me get the trash can.
sorry.
You can put those in here if you want.
What happened? I see you got a Band-Aid on
I
your
was
left.
just gonna ask you about that. What happened there?
outlet stores, Allenton Outlets. And we went to the Nike store and got new shoes. I have a blister from mine from when we were taking the dog on a walk.
Where's the blister at?
I'm gonna take the Band-Aids off, but
We'll keep it on for a second. What we'd like to do is that we're gonna have a young lady or a young man come and just photograph you, take some overall photographs of you, and when we get to it, we'll have you move that so we can get a picture of that. Okay? Would you mind
I think
taking
I
your?
did grab the glass though.
I was gonna say, would you mind just taking those gloves off for me?
Melissa admits to having a cut on her hand from grabbing broken glass that morning. However, security footage from inside Melissa and Matthew's home would show that her hand was bleeding the night before, contradicting her explanation of her injury.
Can you put them right in that trash can?
Yeah, I have a little cut on my hand. But
Can we see where you're going to?
right there.
And that's from what?
I think it's from grabbing the glass. Or, because I know there was the broken glass this morning. I'm sorry, this morning's not the clearest thing in my mind. Wait.
Do you know where?
I remember it was a Hard Rock glass, I believe, in the kitchen, and I think I picked up a piece of it on the floor.
What about your other hand there? I don't want to get all up in your girl. Can you just put your hands out just so I can see there? What's? I know you got a lot of stuff on your hands. It's just blood.
A week and a half ago, I grabbed a hot pan and burnt my hand.
Okay, yeah, I can see a little bit of discolor there.
Yeah, it's still tender. If I burnt my hand, that was my own dumbass fault. I just grabbed a hot pan kind of thing.
Let me see your ring.
That's your guys' engagement ring?
Wow, it's beautiful.
He was saving up to make a formal proposal to me whenever he could afford the ring that he knew I wanted. I told him I didn't give a shit about that, but he wanted it to be perfect for me. So this was more of a promise ring than anything. It was a step between his official proposal to me. It was...
Can I see your other, outside of your ring?
I don't think there's any...
Is that a tear or a tear? No, I'm looking at the cut in the, oh, that's just came off, okay. Do you have any other injuries to your arms underneath your sleeves at all?
No, I mean, these sleeves don't really come up, so if there was, there would be a cut on the shirt.
Is this the same outfit you woke up in this morning? And is this the same one you guys?
This is what I was wearing last night, yes.
Okay. So you went to bed in that, you woke up in that, you haven't changed or anything?
Yeah. And I was wearing a t-shirt yesterday and I was cold. So he gave me his shirt to wear.
I want to ask you just a couple of questions. That maybe they're hard for me to ask, but I don't want you to take offense to them, okay? These situations, our job is to gather all the facts and try to figure out what happened, all right? So you're not the first person that I've asked these kinds of questions to, yeah? But I have to ask them because I want to figure out what happened to Matt, okay?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, take it.
Yeah.
Are you? Hold on a second. Obviously, based on what you've told me, and if anything's correct that I say, please correct me. based on what you told me, it was only you and Matthew in the house last night. You guys were drinking throughout the evening, taken some shots. You guys fed the cats around 7. You took a little break. Then you started drinking again, playing some card games. Started talking about Capital One.
Yeah, the card games were earlier in the night, but I mean, yeah, it was just a
card games.
It was just kind of a chill night. Like, yeah, we played some games, we talked, and just.
You fall asleep around 10:30, 11 in the chair inside the office, which is downstairs, right? And you woke up this morning. You come out, you don't see him, but the kitchen's in a bloody mess. And you find him outside sitting in a chair. You try to give him CPR when you call 911. You don't know what happened to him? Was there any fighting or arguing last night? Do you all have a history of any kind of fighting or arguing?
Nothing. I mean, couples argue sometimes. We never really fought. We would argue.
Have you guys ever been physical with one another?
No.
Not sexually. I'm talking about like
Physical fighting.
Physical fighting.
As physical as we got, it would be one of us having to fucking say, like, if we got too drunk, just sit down and chill out kind of thing. Like, it wasn't hitting, pushing, anything like that. It was more just like, sit down and calm down.
Melissa denies that she and Matthew have had any history of physical altercations and that their arguments didn't escalate past regular relationship disagreements. Investigators would later find out that the couple did have an intense argument on the night of Matthew's death. A neighbor's video surveillance camera recorded yelling and arguing coming from the house, in which a woman's voice can be heard angrily screaming. Melissa would later be questioned about the recording, and after initially denying it, she eventually admitted to arguing with Matthew that night.
He did drink a lot, yeah, and there were times where I had to, like, make him just stop and drink water, you know, kind of be like, you're not drinking any more liquor, just sit down and you know, here's a fucking bottle of water, chill out kind of shit. And he would normally just fall over on the couch and fall asleep. That's why I checked downstairs, because I thought he was just asleep on the couch.
So there was no arguing last night?
We were having a great time.
Was there anything physical, violent?
He was never violent, not to me.
Were you violent with him at all? You didn't push him or punch him, scratch him, anything like that?
She continues to deny any violence between her and Matthew. However, note the clearing of her throat after she says she's never been violent toward him. Many experts and researchers believe subtleties like this can indicate that someone is lying, and investigators would later discover that this was the case in this particular instance.
And he didn't do anything to you?
No, we were never like that. I mean, like I said, couples argue, but we never got to that point. We'd yell at each other and go to bed and wake up and be like, fuck, I was a dick, I'm sorry. And that was the end of it. Like, we'd move on from it.
So nothing happened last night for him to get upset or violent with you, right? Was there anything that happened or that would have caused you to get violent with him?
No.
Did you do anything to harm him?
No.
Do you know who harmed him? Before the cops showed up, did you move or remove anything from the house?
No.
Did you go anywhere?
No.
Talk to anybody from the moment you got up to when you called 911?
No, the only thing I cared about was him.
Do you guys normally keep your garage door open or closed?
It's normally closed.
Was it closed this morning when the cops got there?
Yeah, I think it was. I honestly, this morning was a blur. I can't remember.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I can't remember.
All right.
When you guys go to and from the house, do you use the front door?
It depends. Sometimes we use the front door, sometimes we go out through the garage. It's really up to the, I mean, we do either one depending on what we're doing.
But just recounting your day yesterday, the last time you get home is when you guys come home from Home Depot and Publix and make the lunch, right?
Yeah.
So at that point, do you know if the garage was ever closed or open?
I remember it was open because I opened it when I was working out, and
That's
whenever
right.
we went to leave for Home Depot, I made a comment about it, and he forgot to hit the button. So when we came back from Publix, I remember it was open because I told him, I was like, you didn't close it, and he was like, yeah, it's my bad. I just forgot to.
Well, I'm saying once you guys got home though, throughout the night, did it get closed at some point?
I don't know. We were in and out of the garage because we were trying to figure out the fog machine thing that we got with the hose and that little Halloween decoration thing, and so I can't say, but I think so because normally we kept it closed because our cat. I do remember it was closed.
Okay.
Because probably around 10, I do remember this now. We couldn't put eyes on Blueberry, the little gray cat. She likes to wander, go outside and all that. I thought she might have gone outside, but she was in the garage. So I do remember the garage door was closed.
Just to keep her in? Or?
Yeah, because sometimes you open a door and that cat is like lightning right behind you. She wants to go outside so badly.
So you can say about 10 o'clock last night, you can say for sure the garage is closed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me ask you, I think this might be about the last question I may have. You may have some more. Sometimes, I know with two guys sitting in here, it's hard for sometimes a woman to talk to them or open up to them. Okay, I know that. But I just wanted to give you the chance or the opportunity. I know you said there was nothing physical between the two of you last night, violent-wise. Was there any? I'm only asking this for investigation purposes. Were you guys intimate with one another last night, at all?
No, because I'm still on my period.
Okay.
When's the last time you guys were, if you remember?
I believe yesterday morning I sucked his dick to wake him up. So if you want to count that.
That's intimate. So sometimes arguing can lead to something physical, which then can lead to something else. Did you do anything, or did he do anything to you that would cause you to react in any kind of way to be violent with him?
He was always amazing with me.
Did he
Never put his hands on me.
Did he ever threaten you with any weapons or anything?
Absolutely not.
What about last night?
Not that I remember.
Does he have any weapons?
These knives would come up again after Melissa finally admits to the violent altercation on the night of Matthew's murder. She later claims that Matthew woke her up in the middle of the night, and they got into an argument because she realized he was still drinking. She would also report that Matthew became physically aggressive and tried to choke her, at which point she grabbed one of his knives and stabbed him in self-defense. Florida law allows the use of deadly force to prevent forcible felonies, great bodily harm, or imminent death. Melissa claimed self-defense because if her actions were found justified by a judge, the charges against her would be dismissed.
We got knives. He likes knives. He's got them around the house. And there is a gun upstairs in the master bedroom, a SIG. But that's it, really. Nothing too extreme. Just one gun and some knives. Most of the knives he has is like his brother gave it to him and then his dad gave him this kind of thing.
They're like collector's knives or hunting knives, or what kind of knives are they?
He's got 2 K-bars. He's got, I don't know, one of them. Honestly, I don't know. One of them's like this really old. It has a wooden handle, and the blade is rusted to shit because it accidentally fell into water, and that was my fault. And I try to get all of it off. But I mean, most of the knives that he has mostly are, gifts from his father or his brother, kind of thing.
You said sometimes the most you guys will argue or yell at each other is if somebody gets too drunk and says chill out or sit down or calm down
sit
for a
the
minute?
fuck down, have some water, and chill out.
Did it ever get to
I'm
that
putting
point?
you on a timeout.
Did it ever get to that point last
Not last
night?
night that I remember now.
When is the last time you think one of you had to say that to the other?
Oh God, it's been such a long time. We've been trying to get back, working out and everything, hence the new shoes and all that. I really haven't been drinking that much a lot lately. Last night was the first time I've been actually like drinking liquor in a while. Just because I don't, for health, for calorie, like I'm trying to not put on weight. So it's been probably, since we had to do something like say that, probably 3 or 4 months.
Okay. You any other questions?
I jotted some stuff down throughout the course of what you were saying, so let me see. When did he, you said he worked when the guy came over. When did he stop working for them?
Maybe a month ago.
What
Their
was,
office is right down the road if you want to go ask.
why did he stop? Did he get fired or did he leave?
It's commission based, and he had to go knock on doors and get people, make appointments, and then from there get them, sell them.
So it was more so him just, I don't want to do this anymore.
It was, he was driving around a lot on his feet, like doing all this stuff, and there was nothing coming back from it. It's not like they were getting paid hourly or anything. So, we made the decision to just say, fuck it, like, just stay here, help out around do more around the house would be more beneficial.
More beneficial, okay. Yeah, so did he ever work with anybody that he had problems with? Any coworkers that
Not
he had issues?
particularly, no.
Okay. That was just one of the things I jotted down. So.
One of his, my dog fur.
Another thing I jotted down. You said a timer for the taco thing from an Alexa device.
Yes.
That's like one of those things
Or
you
Echo.
talk to.
Yeah.
Where is that located in the house?
It's in the kitchen, right beside the refrigerator.
Okay, so it should just be sitting there in the kitchen. That's what you guys use to set timers.
Yeah. And
Okay.
timers, music, that kind of thing, shopping, groceries.
Let's see if I had anything else. I know I stepped out for a second, and I think it was right around the time where we were talking about you waking up and walking around the staircase, and you saw the kitchen and how it looked prior to going upstairs to look for him. And I've never been in the house. I haven't been in there. I was told by deputies that responded that it's got some blood and some glass. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, so is that uncommon if you wake up and you're walking around and see that? What's your reaction to that when you saw that?
I saw it and I was worried and everything. That's why but that's why I was looking for him. Like, but I saw broken glass and there was a lot of blood, but there could have been a lot of blood, yeah, but if it was anything that terrible, I thought we would be sitting in the fucking ER kind of thing. Like, I think like maybe like glass got broke, or one of us cut ourselves or something, and just just didn't clean it up. He was drunk and didn't clean it up.
But to you, 'cause, like again, I haven't been in there, but to you it looks like a lot of blood and a lot of glass, like something happened?
Yes.
Okay. Did you, at that point, become more concerned about anything, or are you still just trying to see if he's sleeping upstairs?
I was absolutely more concerned.
Okay. I'm just asking because I'm like I said, I haven't been in there. I don't know what kind of reaction it's going to elicit. If I go in there, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's just some little blood on the ground.
It's not just a little blood on the ground.
Okay.
There was a lot of blood. And yeah, I saw it, but I kept looking for him. I ran upstairs. He wasn't in the bedroom. I know I said I came back downstairs and let the dog outside, but I was confused. I didn't know, like, if you're not here, you're not there. What happened? Where are you? Kind of thing. Like, it didn't even occur to me that he would be outside.
Only when you let the dog out is when you realized he was.
Yeah, because I didn't know. Like, I didn't think he would be outside. I didn't think to check there. It's not like we just go to sleep outside. We don't do that.
Does he ever hang out outside when you guys are just hanging out and drinking, or?
Yeah, we do that from time to time, like, especially since the weather's been really nice lately. And we have the patio set, and we'll go outside and sit down and hang out. And
Was he bleeding last night when he went to sleep?
no.
Did he accidentally cut himself?
He did.
Melissa changes her story again, telling detectives that Matthew accidentally cut his hand before she went to bed that night. It is unclear whether she is being truthful about this detail, but what investigators do learn for certain is that the same in-home security footage that revealed Melissa's bleeding hand would also show the couple's body language as they walked throughout the home. Matthew is observed as relaxed and unharmed as Melissa follows angrily behind him.
What do you mean?
He accidentally cut himself on some, I don't remember what he was doing. But I think he cut his hand on something. I don't know what I don't remember. I don't know.
When you went to sleep last night was...
But it wasn't like massacre in the kitchen kind of thing. It was like wrap a fucking towel around it or a Band-Aid and you would have been fine.
So was there...
But he wasn't bleeding, like, he wasn't, like, bleeding everywhere. It was, I do remember that now. I think it was around when we were talking about the health insurance stuff. I think he cut him. I don't know what he was doing because
Did the kitchen look like, last night when you went to bed, did the kitchen look like it did when you woke up this morning?
Kitchen looked like our kitchen last night. This morning looks like a massacre.
Okay. So there wasn't blood and stuff all over the floor last night? Okay.
I also think it stepped out when you talked about, he's mentioned wanting to hurt himself before. Has he ever given you any indication of how he would hurt himself, or if he were to...
How he would do it? Not particularly.
He just, in general, talked about wanting to hurt himself. He never told you any plan or anything?
He tried to not get too specific with me because he knew it upset me.
Do you have any questions for us?
Can I have some ibuprofen?
I don't think we can administer any medications just because.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
We don't know, we don't know you, what you've taken. We don't want to be the one to put that last ibuprofen in you and have it go over the top,
Understood. I just have a rage headache, and I feel like all of this is still a bad nightmare.
What I'd like to do, Mr. is I'd like to get some photographs of you, okay? And since you got, obviously blood all over you, they're not the most comfortable clothes, but I'd like to take your clothes and trade you out some other ones. Where do you have, right now we have detectives at the house, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you from again?
North Carolina.
All right, do you have any family that's local? Do you have any friends that you can go to their house and hang out? And we can get you a ride there. One of the neighbors or anything like that?
I just got into a fight months ago with my friend, and I don't really have any other. If you can get in contact with I would like to go with him to Jen.
Well, we can try to do that. Do you know his phone number?
I don't, but it's in his phone.
Okay.
Who is that? That's
His brother.
Okay.
Assuming he doesn't try to murder me because he already hates me for stealing his little brother away. I don't mean that in a literal, last time I spoke to him, he was mad at me though. Because...
So maybe we shouldn't call him and have you go over there?
I don't have anyone else.
Okay.
Fuck. I don't have her number on me, but if anyone...
Do you know where she lives?
No, Tampa somewhere. I've only been there once. She's a hoarder, so she doesn't like people at her house.
This is the friend you had a fight with?
No, that was his girlfriend.
Who's the girl that you had
Her name is Ludi, and she's the closest thing I can call to a friend right now.
Ludi?
Ludi. She's Russian. Her real name is Ludmila.
Okay. Do you know her phone number, or is that in your phone?
It's in my phone, but if you can get her and call her.
She's local enough to maybe she'd take you in when we explain to her what's going on. What's her last name?
Oh, fuck. I can't even think right now. Fuentes. Fuen. Fuentes.
Did you address the book? I forgot we mentioned
I did not.
We talked about it briefly when we were there, just because you were bringing it with you and wanting to bring it. Could you explain more what that book is, or would you mind opening it?
It's because he had me sit down in the office to talk to me at first, or to calm me down anyway, to get me away from the... Because where I was sitting, I could see him.
Oh, so the deputy is the one who
So
let
he
you go?
put me in the office instead, before taking me outside to the garage.
Okay.
And this, I made this for us this year on our anniversary. Because it's photos from the times when we first met.
So it's kind of like a little diary of your guys' relationship. I see some photos. That's him and you in there.
Our first Christmas, Vegas, Philadelphia. We went to Cuba together. Mexico. That's our dog. That's our husky, Sarah.
That's back there too, I see.
Yeah, we have 4 cats. That's when we bought the house in January.
January 4th. Let me go ahead and step out. Did you have any other questions for us? We're gonna go ahead and step out. I'm gonna try to get them over here as quickly as we can and get some pictures of you. All right. Do you need to use the restroom or anything? Do you want a soda? Something other than water?
Yeah, a Coke would be nice.
A Coke? We'll get you a Coke. All right.
My phone, I believe, is in the kitchen at the house. If you can have someone get Ludy's number, she should be saved in my phone.
Okay.
What did you say her full name was? Ludi?
Ludmila Fuentes. She was adopted by a Spanish couple here in Florida.
Oh, so she's Russian, but she just has a Hispanic last name?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's from Russia.
So we'll get working on that too, because we're at the house right now. We're going to be there for a little while, so you're not going to be able to go in there until we're done. But we want to make sure that we get you somewhere. Okay? Do you want to hang out in here until we get ready to take the pictures, or would you like to sit outside? It's totally up to you. We got some picnic tables right there. You can get some fresh air if you'd like.
I'll go outside.
Okay. You can take your water with you. I'll go ahead and conclude this interview. It's 12:17 at Friday, October 18th. And we'll get you a Coke too, okay?
Where are we staying here for a minute?
She wants to sit outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you something outside, just regarding something.
Okay.
Do you have any idea what happened?
I don't. I don't. We have detectives there that are trying to, they're processing the house and trying to figure out what happened in there with the evidence and stuff. And we're talking to you and we're talking to the neighbors. So we're working through it. Okay.
If you want we can go outside in a second. If you don't mind, if you wouldn't mind just sitting there for a second. I just gotta pop in for 5 seconds and then appreciate it.
This can't be real. This can't be real. This can't be real. This can't be real. This can't be real.
Ms. Turner, we'll have you, we'll get you a Coke, okay? Have you hang out outside over here? You go out.
The camera is still rolling as she repeatedly mutters to herself, "This can't be real." But is this the acting performance of a lifetime? The physical evidence found at the scene, the incongruities in Melissa's story and Matthew's injuries, and the video and audio footage of that night led investigators to charge Melissa with murder. Melissa Turner was found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to 20.5 years in prison. Thank you for watching. Check out my Patreon link in the description below and drop a like on this video. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. I'm always curious to read what you thought of the case.
This case takes place in Hampshire, England, on the 17th of July, 2022. Shea Groves was a 27-year-old woman who lived in Haven, a town in the south of England. She was a mother of one, although was not with the father. She had a boyfriend named Frankie Fitzgerald. Frankie was a 25-year-old man from Portsmouth, and he was a father too. Shea was described as a rather manipulative woman. Her friends would later say that she would do whatever it took to get her own way, even if that meant blackmailing someone. On one occasion, she had even told Frankie and some of her friends that she had cancer. This was a lie, and had claimed this to garner sympathy and control over people. Shea had somewhat of an obsession with Frankie, and the main reason for this was because of their bedroom life. Both Frankie and Shea would engage in bondage, dominance, submission, and masochism. They would engage in something called knife play, where Frankie would hold blades to Shea's throat. The two had a very off-and-on relationship. They were both extremely jealous and paranoid about each other cheating. The couple's relationship seemed to be coming to an end. Frankie in particular was becoming sick of Shea's manipulative behaviour, and she was paranoid that he was going to go back to his ex-girlfriend, something that she often spoke about to her friends. The two were also known to drink heavily and take illegal substances, and on the 16th of July 2022, the two had consumed a fair amount. On the 17th of July 2022, the police received a rather strange call from a woman named Vicky Baitup. Vicky told the operators that she had just had a FaceTime conversation with a friend of hers named Shea Groves. Vicky stated that the call began with the two of them speaking about their plans for the weekend, but during this call, Vicky overheard Shea's housemate, Lauren White, say, "Are you going to tell her?" Shea then explained that she had a really big secret and begged Vicky not to say anything to anyone. Confused, Vicky stayed on the FaceTime with Shea as she began walking up the stairs and into her bedroom. She pointed the camera at the bed, showing Vicky the dead body of her boyfriend, Frankie. As she pointed the camera to Frankie's body, she said, "I've done him in," and then began to laugh. A pillow was covering Frankie's face and a number of bin bags were underneath his body. Vicky was deeply disturbed, but the situation was so strange and the camera wasn't close enough to see. She assumed it must have been some kind of sick prank. Vicky asked Shea, "Are you having me on?" But then Shea moved the camera closer and closer and showed a deep cut across Frankie's throat. Vicky would later say, "I don't think I really grasped what happened earlier. The gash was so deep, it was enormous." Shea told Vicky that Frankie had forced himself upon her and that she was a victim of a non-consensual act. To prove this, Shea sent 3 video clips as proof. This proof that Frankie had attacked Shea will be explained later, as there is much more to the story. She then asked Vicky, "We're still friends, aren't we?" before ending the call. Following this call, Vicky immediately called the police, explained the FaceTime that she had just had with Shea, and told them where she lived. Officers were dispatched to the house and were met with a strong smell of bleach. The initial interaction with the police was captured by an officer's body camera. I shall now play you that clip.
What's going on?
Sorry,
No. Don't close the door. What's going on? What's going on?
With what?
You Shea?
I am Shea.
Right. I've had some kind of strange, interesting call about somebody having had their throat slit.
Okay.
So what's going on here?
No, that's,
dog,
that's
is it?
my dog's, yeah.
You're under arrest on suspicion of murder. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given evidence. The necessity for your arrest is for a prompt and effective investigation. Okay.
You can see from the footage that she seems to be oddly relaxed. Shea goes on to tell the police that she didn't know what happened and said, "He's dead. He's in my room and it's a mess. The knife I used is in the sink." Shea was arrested and charged with murder. Shea's flatmate, Lauren White, was initially arrested on suspicion of murder too, but was released on bail. She was, however, charged for failing to give investigating police officers the pin to her mobile phone. A post-mortem was conducted on Frankie's body. They found that he had been stabbed 17 times to the front of the chest, twice to the other chest areas, and 3 times to the neck. He suffered multiple perforations to the heart and lungs, and had lost a catastrophic amount of blood. When the police examined Shay's home, they discovered that she seemed to have an intense obsession with serial killers. But not in the usual way, where people just find them interesting and watch documentaries. She had a number of framed portraits of notorious killers, including Ted Bundy, Myra Hindley, the Moors murderers, and Jeffrey Dahmer, and had displayed these on her bedroom wall. The police asked Shay to explain exactly what happened. She claimed that she was in fear for her life, that Frankie had attempted to hurt her, and she said she acted in self-defense. She said that the two had a very on and off relationship filled with arguments, and that the two would always film their bedroom activities. She claimed that she had footage of Frankie forcing himself on her and attacking her, and that because of this, she needed to defend herself. The police investigated these claims. Shay had sent 3 videos to one of her friends which appeared to show Frankie forcing himself on her, but the police dug a little bit deeper into this. They found her claims to be false. The two had a very extreme sex life, and the footage always seemed to be on the cusp of unconsensual. However, Shay would tell Frankie that she wanted it a certain way, and would then edit the videos in a way to seem like he had acted in a non-consensual manner. The police found the unedited video. In this video, the two talked about a safe word and had engaged in knife play and role play. When the videos were edited, it seemed that Frankie had done what Shay had claimed, but she had obviously manipulated the situation. When confronted with this evidence, Shay eventually admitted that she lied about this story, and the trial would begin in February of 2023. The prosecutor showed how Shay had a deep fascination with serial killers and murder documentaries, and showed the many portraits on her wall, and went on to say, this meant that Shay was familiar with what to do and say to try and engineer a situation where she could look like a victim, which of course completely unraveled in the face of the evidence collected from key witnesses, mobile phones, call data, and recordings. It also came out that Shay had blackmailed another boyfriend with an intimate tape. She had threatened to show the video to his new girlfriend if he didn't do what she wanted, and what Shay wanted was a lift into the town centre. In Shay's eyes, this was enough of a reason to blackmail an ex-partner. Shay had also attacked her housemate Lauren a number of times. On one occasion, she attacked her with a pair of nail clippers and split her head open. The court also heard how Shay had lied about the reason for killing Frankie and presented evidence which proved that she was lying with the recordings. They also showed how she had begun to clean up the crime scene and try to get away with the murder. It was then time for Shay to present her defense. She said that the two were extremely paranoid and claimed that on the night of the murder, they had both accused each other of talking to their ex-partners. This was backed up by text messages sent by the both of them. With these suspicions, the two swapped phones and checked each other's messages. Shay claimed that while she was looking through Frankie's phone, she discovered messages from a 13-year-old girl. Shay then said, "At that point, I called him some really horrible names, like the P word. Frankie then became really angry and his demeanor changed." Shay went on to say, "You could see it in his eyes. He grabbed me by the throat and forcibly pushed my head towards the headboard. I couldn't breathe and I couldn't even scream. My eyes were blurry. I realized that he wasn't going to let go and I feared for my life. I reached out and grabbed an object on the bookcase and hit him in the throat." Shay explained that she had a money box next to her bed and that she thought she had hit him with that, but claimed that she had accidentally picked up a knife by mistake and slashed his throat. Shay continued to say, "He rolled off and he stood up and slid down the wall really slowly. There was bubbling coming out of his neck when he stopped moving, and I was in shock. His chest wasn't moving, it was just the noise. When that happened, I realized that I had killed him. I tried to stop the bubbling and I put my hand there, but it didn't do anything. So I picked up the knife again and stabbed him in the heart. It was at this point that Shay claimed to have panicked and made a call to her daughter's father, who allegedly told her to clean up the crime scene. Shay then told Lauren that she wanted to bury the body in the garden or make it look like Frankie had taken his own life. Shay and Lauren placed bin bags and shopping bags underneath his body and placed a pillow over his face. Shay then warned her that she was an accomplice who had helped place bin bags underneath his body. It was backed up in court that Frankie did have a history of domestic violence. He had been convicted of harming his previous partner before meeting Shay. The woman Shay FaceTimed after the murder, Vicky, admitted that she and Shay would often talk about ways that they could harm Frankie, such as arranging for people to beat him up. Vicky claimed that she didn't think Shay was being serious and thought these conversations were a joke. The prosecution team highlighted that this showed some signs of premeditation. The prosecution rejected claims that the murder was a crime of passion and stated, "She stabbed her boyfriend in a jealous frenzy and then set about trying to cover for herself. Her actions were cold, callous, and calculated. She spun a web of lies, and everything she did was an attempt to further manipulate the situation and detract from taking any responsibility for her crime." The prosecution team also highlighted that there were no defensive injuries on Frankie's body, which shows that no struggle took place, suggesting strongly that she killed him in his sleep. It was also found that Frankie had blocked the girl who had messaged him prior to the murder. The judge also confirmed that the girl was 17 years old and not 13. Police also uncovered that Shay had been sleeping with her former boyfriend, which was filmed. Frankie would go over to Shay's house after, totally unaware that her ex had been over too. After Shay and Frankie would finish being intimate, she would often accuse him of having no love for her and just using her for convenience. This was used to show how manipulative Shay could be. The jury found Shay guilty of murder and rejected her defense claims. The judge overseeing the case stated what they thought happened. They went into graphic detail about the things Frankie and Shay would get up to in the bedroom and how violent and borderline non-consensual it could be. The judge said, "This was a crime of passion. You loved the man you killed and you killed the man you loved. You are, as the Crown submitted, manipulative, jealous, and possessive. A crime of passion is not committed in cold blood. You realized your relationship with Frankie was ending and you were losing your influence over him. You sensed that he was going to leave you for a less toxic girlfriend. You were planning for that already, considering resuming your relationship with your ex-partner. But then, you became furious on finding the messages between Frankie and the supposed 13-year-old girl. You lost your temper and acted upon your impulses. If you could not have Frankie, no one could. No other woman could have him if not you." The judge highlighted some mitigating factors. They didn't believe the murder was premeditated and also brought up the fact that Shay had a troubled upbringing. She suffered from mental health problems from an early age and suffers from emotionally unstable personality disorder and with complex post-traumatic stress disorder from a previous relationship. Shay was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 23 years. It said that she showed little to no remorse for what she had done to Frankie. I'm unsure if Shay's housemate, Lauren White, was given a sentence. It's written in court documents that Lauren didn't have many friends and was used as a domestic servant by Shay. She would make her get her clothes ready, put on her socks, make her food and cups of coffee. And as I said before, was violent towards her on a number of occasions. If you know anything about what happened to her, please feel free to comment below.
parts of her body were eaten.
This case takes place in the United States of America on the 11th of September 2014. Tammy Jo Blanton was a 46-year-old woman who lived in Jeffersonville, Indiana. In 2014, Tammy began a relationship with a man named Joseph Oberhansley. She would later say that at first the relationship was going well, but after just a few weeks, Joseph began to change. Joseph had a rather dark past. Tammy was aware that he had been incarcerated for a crime that he committed, but she did not know the full ins and outs of exactly what happened. Most of the time, he would brush off the reason for his prison time, but the reason was incredibly sinister. In 1998, when Joseph was 18, he was dating a 17-year-old named Sabrina. The two had a child together, although Joseph was under the impression that she had cheated and the child wasn't his. On the 9th of December 1998, only days after the birth of their child, Sabrina went over to Joseph's mother's house to visit without him. On this day, Joseph had taken a large amount of illegal substances and made his way over to his mother's house. Upon entering, he was enraged to see Sabrina standing there. In response, Joseph pulled out a gun and fired. He shot Sabrina as she held their child. Joseph's mother then jumped in front of Sabrina and the child, but Joseph opened fire on her too and shot a bullet in her back. Joseph then turned and fired a shot at his sister, who was also present, but thankfully the bullet missed her. After shooting his girlfriend and his own mother, Joseph turned the weapon on himself. He placed it under his chin and fired. Sabrina tragically died from her injury. The baby, however, did manage to survive, along with Joseph's mother. She was treated for her injuries and was able to make a recovery. The bullet that Joseph had fired into his own head became lodged in his brain, and he too was able to make a recovery. Once he recovered, he was charged with murder and attempted murder. At the trial, Joseph's defense team argued that he wasn't guilty of murder. His father and brother had recently passed away, and he had turned to alcohol and other substances to cope. They argued that these circumstances had caused a great deal of stress in his life, and that because of this, the crime should be seen as manslaughter instead. The defense team was successful, and Joseph was found guilty of manslaughter in the year 2000. In July of 2012, after serving 12 years, Joseph was released from prison on parole. Joseph headed for Indiana to join his mother, who forgave him shortly after he had shot her. During his time in prison, she even advocated for his release. However, it wouldn't take too long for Joseph to commit another crime. Whilst on parole in 2013, Joseph went to a bar. Whilst drinking, he got into a fight with a fellow patron and ended up choking this man out. Multiple sources have claimed that he resisted arrest and was even naked during this attack. Despite his previous conviction, Joseph was allowed to be released on bail, and because he was released on bail, he met Tammy. So now we arrive back to 2014. As I said earlier, Joseph and Tammy were in a relationship, but shortly into this relationship, Joseph began to change. He became controlling and aggressive. But then, Tammy confided with a friend and told this friend that Joseph had done something truly horrific. On the 5th of September, Joseph held her captive in her home and repeatedly forced himself upon her for 2 days. Because she was so scared of Joseph, she did what he wanted, as to not anger him further. This occurred around 4 months into their relationship. Once she was away from Joseph after being held captive, she ended the relationship, but Joseph wouldn't take no for an answer. Following the breakup, he continued to harass Tammy and would often show up at her home and her work, which of course greatly intimidated her. Some text messages would later be found on Tammy's phone which were sent to Joseph. The messages go as follows. You can choose to be in denial about what happened on Saturday into Sunday. I won't be in denial. No one, and I mean no one, gets to terrify me like you did on Sunday. I will never forget it as long as I live. She went on to say, I do not want to involve the police, but if you leave me no choice, "That is what I will have to do." Tammy called her father and asked him to change the locks on her home. Meanwhile, not feeling safe, Tammy stayed at one of her friends' houses for a couple of days. Once the locks were changed, she returned home and told her friends that she had the police on speed dial and kept chairs under the door handles of her house. At 3 a.m. on September the 11th, 2014, Tammy awoke and heard the sounds of someone trying to break into her home. Of course, she knew exactly who this would be. She called 911 to say that her ex-boyfriend was trying to break in. The police soon arrived on the scene and told Joseph that he needed to move along. Joseph did as he was told, and the police watched him walk away. The police were content that no arrest had to be made, and the issue, as far as they were concerned, was settled. The following morning rolled around. Colleagues of Tammy clocked that she was late for work, but as more time passed, they became deeply concerned. Tammy was nowhere to be seen, and from what I can tell, she wasn't known to skip work and not call in as to why. The colleagues that worked with Tammy were very well aware of the troubles Joseph had been causing her. They began to assume that something was horribly wrong, so they contacted the police and asked them to go over to Tammy's house and check on her to see if everything was okay. Officers were dispatched to the location and arrived on the scene. They approached the house believing that what they would be dealing with was a simple welfare check. However, when officers arrived at Tammy's house, they found Joseph outside, and they noted that he seemed to be nervous. An officer also spotted that Joseph seemed to have cuts on his knuckles. As they inspected further, the door to Tammy's house appeared to have been kicked in. Now also concerned, officers told Joseph that they needed to pat him down to make sure that he didn't have any weapons that could potentially harm them. Upon asking this request, Joseph declined, so the officers had no other choice but to arrest Joseph and search him. During this search, they pulled out a knife from his pocket, and this knife was covered in blood. One of the officers later testified that she entered the home through the back door that had been kicked in. She found a trail of blood throughout the house, all over the walls, the floor, everywhere. They then entered the bathroom of the house. Inside, a tent covered the bathtub. They pulled back the tent and found Tammy's body in the tub. Her body had been horrendously mutilated, and she was missing a large part of her skull. Investigators were brought in to determine what exactly happened, and Joseph was taken into custody. When examining the crime scene and Tammy's body, investigators made a number of truly horrific and disturbing discoveries. Tammy had been stabbed dozens of times and had suffered severe blunt force trauma. An electrical power tool had been used to cut inside her body, and other tools were used to open up her chest, one of them being an electrical saw. Joseph had then used a knife to cut and remove parts of her lung and entire heart. Tammy's skull had also been cut with the power saw. Large chunks of her brain had been removed, some of which was found in the bathtub with her, along with large chunks of her skull. As Tammy's house was inspected, they discovered that part of her organs that were missing were found on a dinner plate next to the frying pan. Joseph had cooked and cannibalized Tammy. He had eaten parts of her brain, lung, and heart. Joseph was questioned. During this interview with the police, he explained that he had indeed eaten Tammy's brain, and that he had also tried to pull out her third eye with tongs. He also admitted to eating large parts of her lungs and heart. Investigators asked where Tammy's heart was. He replied by saying, "I ate it. It's part of me now." He was questioned as to why he ate her body. Joseph said, "She was already dead." After this interview, he was placed in a padded cell, where he began to beat his chest and pant heavily. To commit such a gruesome crime usually means that the perpetrator is severely mentally ill. Mental health professionals began the lengthy process of determining if Joseph was mentally competent enough to stand trial. In the meantime, Joseph would change his story. He said that his head had been fuzzy following the murder of Tammy, because he too had been attacked. So this is his second story. According to Joseph, he had gone to Tammy's house to collect some belongings. But upon entering her house, he had found 2 men who had broken in. Upon seeing Joseph, these 2 men supposedly attacked him and rendered him unconscious. He claimed that these 2 men had stabbed, killed, and eaten Tammy. Joseph also said that he believed the 2 men were planning to cut his head off and eat his brain. Joseph was charged with murder. After some time, and after being assessed by multiple professionals, Joseph was deemed not mentally fit to stand trial in 2017. Joseph was then given medical and psychological treatment, and in 2018 he was deemed fit to stand trial, nearly 4 years after the crime had been committed. The trial would begin in 2019. This trial, however, wouldn't last long. One of the jury members was aware of Joseph's past. To have a fair trial, the jury was supposed to have no prior knowledge of his manslaughter conviction. This jury member spoke to a number of other jury members and told them what he had done previously. When the courts found out about this, the trial was ruled as a mistrial. A new trial would need to be set up. However, this again would take some time. The courts needed the go-ahead from mental health professionals that Joseph was fit again to stand trial. During this time, Joseph was offered an insanity plea, but Joseph declined to take it. He said to the judge that using the insanity defense would be in part amount to admitting guilt to the jurors, and said, "I don't suffer from any mental illness." A second trial would begin in September of 2020, 6 years after the death of Tammy. During the trial, the jury was shown a number of photographs of the crime scene and was shown evidence that Joseph had consumed some of her brain, lungs, and heart. Before the jury were presented with these images, they were warned how graphic and gruesome they were, and were described as worse than anything you would see in a horror film. Joseph took to the stand and claimed that 2 black men had broken into Tammy's house and that they were the ones responsible for her death. When asked about the initial confession, Joseph stated that he had been coerced by investigators to confess, and claimed that when he was being questioned, he was in a vulnerable state of mind. The defense then warned the jury not to be distracted from the facts of the case by, quote, emotional evidence. The prosecution stated that Joseph's story of intruders was a fabrication, and that he, and he alone, was responsible for the death and cannibalization of Tammy. The prosecutor said, "She suffered so many indignities that night. She was terrified, she was stabbed, she was dismembered, and she was eaten, all at the hands of Joseph." One of Tammy's friends also testified. She spoke of the horrific weekend Tammy had suffered at the hands of Joseph in the week before the murder. Messages were shown to the court from Tammy's phone, where she confided with this friend, highlighting how she was scared of him. The 911 call placed by Tammy in the early hours of the morning before her murder was also brought up, showing that Joseph had already tried to break into her house that morning. A psychologist that assessed Joseph testified and stated that he was the most severely mentally ill person who she had ever reviewed. Joseph's defense told the court that he had a bulge lodged in his brain and that this was a major cause for his mental health issues. They went on to claim that this should be taken into account when finding him guilty or not guilty of murder. Joseph was thankfully found guilty of murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As he was removed from court, he continued to insist that he was innocent. What is incredibly frustrating about this case is that Joseph has proven himself to be a serious danger to society not once, but twice. Yet, his lawyers are helping him to get a retrial and have launched an appeal. His defense lawyer said, "It would be easy to look at the horrors visited upon Tammy and conclude that they were simply the actions of a monster, but doing so would be reductive, and this court's review must look deeper. The court must consider his actions in the context of his profound mental illness." They went on to say, "There is also no question that Joseph was suffering from severe mental illness when he committed his crimes. What there is a question about, however, is whether Tammy would still be alive today if Joseph were not so severely mentally ill. There are reasons to believe that she would. Because of that, Joseph asks this court to find his sentence of life without parole inappropriate. End quote. As far as I can tell, these proceedings are ongoing. I would sometimes like to ask these lawyers who try to get such reoffending murderers off if they would ever like to live next door to them. The chances are they wouldn't. But if they were ever to somehow get a reoffending murderer out, someone would have to live next door to them. And just like how Tammy was unaware of his past, they could be too. As I mentioned earlier, in 2013, whilst Joseph was on parole, he choked someone out whilst he was naked and was allowed to be released on bail. The prosecutor who allowed this bail to go through resigned from his position following the death of Tammy. The case of Tammy is by far one of the most gruesome true crime cases out there. The horror of what happened to her is only compounded by just how long it took for Joseph to be brought to justice. Something that must have been horrendous for Tammy's family and for those who cared about her. The police who worked on this case have said that the crime scene was one of the most gruesome in Jeffersonville's history.